Okay, so it is 11:40. We will start. Okay, should we start? We will start with our module one. Okay. So pre-stressed concrete structures we will be studying. To be exact, your subject name is design of pre-stressed concrete elements, I think. So we will be going through your module one now. So as I've shown, this is what consists of your module one. So as you know, first module always consists of your introduction. Then after that, in introduction, we will be studying like concepts of pre-stressing. What is the concept of pre-stressing? Then types of pre-stressing. What are the various types? There are many types, and majorly we will be concerned with the two types of pre-stressing, that is pre-tensioning and post-tensioning. Those are the major two things that we have to study. Then some few advantages and a few limitations, not disadvantages, but a few limitations of pre-stressing. There are always some limitations and advantages. So if your advantage is way more than your limitations, it is always beneficial. So pre-stressing systems, we will study what are the various pre-stressing systems. As I said, you will be using anchorage devices. So various anchoring devices are available, how they have to be used, which anchoring device has to be used where, all those things we will study. So as you know, pre-stressing is a different kind. So we will be using some different materials for pre-stressing, not a regular RC elements, ingredients that we will be using. Some special things we will be including in your PSC elements. PSC, always remember PSC meaning pre-stressed concrete. Okay, so I'll be talking as PSC meaning pre-stressed concrete. Okay, so we will have to study a few mechanical properties of your high strength concrete and high strength steel that we will be using in your PSC elements. So we have to use high strength concrete and high strength steel. Why do we have to use this? We will explain. So stress strain curve for high strength concrete. So let me tell you that on the first class who have missed, I have explained the code that we use for PSC, that is IS 1343/2012. Remember? So in that I have shown you that all of this what I have shown is available in your code book. Okay, so just if you go through that and you can find out and mark it, so it will be easier for you in the exam. You can just open that page. You can write down. So I encourage device, everything is mentioned. Then I don't think advantages and limitations are mentioned. But regarding this mechanical properties of concrete, steel, the stress strain curve also is shown. So all those things are there. Then analysis of members at transfer is there in your code book. Okay, so we will learn how to analyze the members. We know how to analyze your RCC elements. So similarly, we will learn how to analyze your PSC elements. Okay, so analyzing of PSC is a bit different. We have parts wherein a member at transfer, analysis of members. We have to do 2 to 3 times analysis of members before transfer of your stress and after transfer of a stress. That is there. 2 times or 3 times we have to study. Then stress concept we will study. Basically, it has three concepts that are there for analyzing of your PSC members. We use stress concept, then we use force concept, and then we use load balancing concept. So these three concepts we will be studying, and we will be learning how do we analyze using these three concepts. Then we have two more topics included, that is Kern point. We will study what do we mean by this Kern point, how do we find out this Kern points. Then we will study this pressure line, what this pressure line means. Okay, so very interesting concept, this Kern and pressure line. We will study this. Okay, so this consists of a first module. We will be studying a few things today from this first module, not the entire thing or the half thing. We will be studying just a few things and we will be winding up. Okay, so pre-stress. Pre-stress is nothing but your initial load, what we can say. Initial load. There is some initial load applied to an element or a beam or a slab or a column or any pipe element that we pre-stress. So pre-stress, the word pre-stress means initial load. Before the element is actually put into service, put into actual service, we initially put some load onto it or we initially stress it. or what do? We pre-stress the element before it is put into service. Okay, remember that pre-stress meaning we initially load or initially stress the element before it is actually put into service. That is what is meant by pre-stress. Okay, so pre-stress word. So I have not included pre-stress concrete here. So pre-stress is a concept long before concrete existed. Okay, so I am telling this is we usually relate pre-stress concrete, three words simultaneously. So concrete in concrete pre-stressing has been starting to used recently. 18th 19th century it has started after the invention of your concrete. So pre-stressing has been started to be used in concrete initial nowadays. Okay, so pre-stressing used to be pre-stressing existed long before concrete, and pre-stressing of other things I will show now used to occur before it was used in concrete. So now usually it is used in concrete, majorly it is used in concrete, but before that also pre-stress existed. Okay, so you might have seen these kind of wooden barrels, to store your wine and your various alcohols, right? This kind of barrels, which has wooden stuffs, various elements, individual elements, and which are held together by these metal bands. As you can see, these are three metal bands are here. These two metal bands are here. One, two. Okay, so these metal bands, what they do is these individual elements are not glued and they are not stuck together by using glue, but they are held together by force. By which force? Like by these metal bands. See, these metal bands act like your rubber bands which hold these wooden staffs together, right? When you put a rubber band, how it just compresses it, it what it does is it applies a hoop compression force, right? Hoop compression. So that is the same action what is done by your metal bands here. See, they have represented a free body diagram of a single individual element here. Of a single, they have taken out this wooden element here, and they have shown a free body diagram. So when you see a free body diagram of this wooden element here, you can see it has compressive forces here. You can see arrow marks here on both the sides. It is nothing but a compressive pre-stress applied by this metal bands here. So how this process is, these metal bands are not exactly the same diameter as your wooden barrel. So they are a few smaller, having a few smaller diameter than your wooden barrel. Okay, so what they do is they heat this metal band before. Heat the metal band, and what heat does is it expands the metal, right? Expands the metal, and where that expanded metal is put on this barrel. And when the steel cools, it comes back to its original shape, original size, and that compressive force is now been applied to this wooden barrel, because the wooden staffs do not allow the steel band metal band to compress, and what that does is compressive or your hoop compression is applied to your wooden staffs, which holds your wooden barrel in this single element. Okay, so that is one example wherein you can see pre-stress has been used long before concrete. Then one more example, you have seen, many of you have seen this thing in your native, wherein you can see this bullock cart wheels, which are made usually of wood, right? So they have this metal, this thing, right? Metal. So you can see a black metal band here going throughout, metal band, which is a single element. It is not broken. It is a single band. Okay. So can anyone tell me why this is given for metal band? You might have seen, and many might have also used. Okay, so these are usually seen on bullock cart, which are made up of this wooden elements, wheels which are made up of wooden elements. Can anyone just tell me the same thing concept as the wooden barrel thing? Same thing. No one can think the same thing which I've explained in the previous example. That is the same thing here. So the same thing. wooden this metal band holds this entire wheel. If that metal band is not provided, this will just dislocate. All this will be start to loosen up, and wheel will be destroyed. So what they do is they heat this wooden, they heat this steel metal band before it is placed on this wheel. So this diameter of this metal band is usually some smaller than your actual wheel size. So after heating, that will expand, and when you place it, it is placed hot, and when it cools, it shrinks, and that compressive force is applied on your wheel, and which holds your wheel in place. Okay, so understood. So that is why this is also an example of pre-stress. Okay, so pre-stress, your wheel is pre-stressed, and because of that pre-stress, it can handle larger loads, and it will not just break up when it goes through any holes in our streets or any stones on which it rides. Okay, so it will not just break when it moves along. So this is also one concept of pre-stressing, not only in concrete, but some few examples apart from concrete wherein we use pre-stress. Some major two examples are these two. Okay, so coming to the next thing. So as pre-stressing is used in concrete, I have told, because concrete RC elements, when they are loaded, the concrete starts to crack below the neutral axis, and only after the RC element cracks, the stress is transferred to steel, the tensile stresses are transferred to steel, and because of these cracks, water and moisture percolates inside, which is very bad for your element. So to overcome this disadvantage, and because your concrete below neutral axis is almost useless, uh, what we have devised this new pre-stressing, wherein we use this whole section and your whole section, and this section are lesser in size, which in turn leads to lesser dead load. So all these I've explained in the previous thing. So this is the pre-stressing. Why this is why we use pre-stressing concrete. Okay, so coming to pre-stressing concept, pre-stressing, how it is done, and all those things, I have explained using a simple diagram in the last slide of the last previous explanation. Okay, so the same thing we will explain. I will explain now in detail. So consider this thing. The first beam you can see, it is named number one. So it is an unstressed beam. Okay, so normal beam, it is unstressed. It does not have any steel reinforcement and nothing. It is unstressed. It is just you place your concrete in a form, and you just bring it. Okay, so there are no forces acting on this internally or externally. So in the second image, you can see when the load is acting on this kind of beam, it deflects. Your beam starts to deflect. It starts to bend. So what we can do to avoid this is, we usually what we do is we pass your tendons through this concrete. Okay, so we pass this tendons inside your concrete, maybe two in number, maybe three in number, depending upon your load. We pass your tendons, and after we pass, you can see in your third figure, it is stretched. Your tendons are stretched from both the sides. Your tendons are stretched by certain amount, by certain length, using certain force by applied from your hydraulic jacks. Okay, so they are stretched. So it is like steel is very ductile. It can be stretched, and this particular steel that we use, which we usually call as tendon in pre-stress, is has that special property wherein it is very ductile and it can handle these stresses. Okay, so it is pulled by these hydraulic jacks, and uh, what do we do is after this it is pulled, it is anchoring devices are placed where we pull it, and let me just draw, you will get a better idea. So suppose this is a concrete end, so your element is pulled. Suppose it was initially here, and it is now pulled up to here. Okay, so with the thing which was here, the element, the point which was here has now come here. Okay, this part which was here initially has now come here because it has stretched. So okay, what we do is now we place your anchoring device here, which holds this steel element, which does not. Then what we do is we release your pressure from your jacks, which are pulling, or cut. We simply cut your steel, here. So what that does is, when this force is released, what a steel does is it tries to regain its original strength, original shape, or original size. So this element which was initially here and stretched up to here, which was at point A, and now has come to point B and is held in place by these wedges, or what we call as anchorage devices. So what this wedge does is it holds this B point here, or a steel here, and does not allow it to reach back to its original point A. So when this thing is here, so what this does is, this steel starts to compress your concrete. This anchorage device holds the steel, and it applies compressive force which is coming from your steel, which is trying to go inside, which is trying to regain its original size. So your element, it is done on both sides. See, one side here I am showing, one side I am showing here. So it is held in place by this anchorage devices. Okay. So your what that is nothing but your pre-stressing force. Pre-stressing force. Now after we transfer your pre-stress to your concrete, so what we have done is, the tensile stresses have been converted to compressive stresses. Okay, so we pulled your steel, we applied tensile stresses. Once we release it, that tensile stresses is applied to concrete in compressive force. Okay, so what that does is, when we compress, suppose you have rubber, large rubber that you have, eraser you have seen, large eraser. When you compress it from both the sides, it tends to deflect upwards. Why it deflects upwards is because we have applied a pre-stress above your below your neutral axis. Suppose see in the fourth figure, I am drawing a neutral axis here. So this is a neutral axis. So when your tendon is below this neutral axis, and when it compresses, automatically what your beam does is it deflects upwards, and it takes this shape. See, it takes this hogging shape. See, not below, not your sagging shape. See, it would have sagged if the tendon was above your neutral axis, right? So we do not want it to sag, because sagging is bad. We need it to not to sag. So what we do is, we place a tendon below your neutral axis, and that compressive force, what it does is, it lifts up your beam. It causes hogging action, as seen in your fifth as seen in a fifth figure. Okay, so pre-stress deflects up your beam. So what happens is, when you load, when you put it under service, when you put your when you put this beam under service, what happens is, when you load your device, suppose there are p amount of loads that are coming, multiple p amount of loads. So what they will do is, they will bring back your deflected shape back to your normal shape, back to this straight shape. Total deflection will be zero in the end. So the basic concept is that we will be knowing what these forces that are we going to come during service, and according to that we will apply the pre-stress, and we will cause certain amount of deflection. Okay, so we know the load that will come during its service. We will calculate that. We will design certain amount of pre-stressing force. We will calculate the amount of pre-stressing force that is required to handle this service loads. Okay, so and that what that will does is, it deflects the beam by certain amount, and when it is put into service, when those loads act on this beam will come back to its original or your neutral shape. It will be flat. Your total deflection in the end will be flat. Okay, so this is nothing but a pre-stressing concept. So one more important thing is this third image, uh, how your pre-stressing force is transferred, to your concrete, has many types, that is types of pre-stressing, we may call. What in this figure they have shown is post tensioning. We have pre-tensioning, we have many other methods. So in this example we have used a post tensioning method. We will be learning, or I'll be explaining all these types of pre-stressing in detail as we go further. But now this is just a general thing for you to understand the concept of pre-stressing. Okay, so I'll give you a few things. I'll give a few minutes. You can just ask me if you have any doubts, or if you have not understood any of these things. You can type in chat, or you can unmute and you can ask if you have not understood any of these things. Okay, if you have not understood pre-stress, how do you apply pre-stress? Okay, so if you are, even if you have not understood, I have few more slides explaining the same thing. You'll definitely understand in the next slides. Okay, so I'll just continue. So coming to next slide, see also this will explain in a better way. See in a first figure, that is your normal RCC element. Okay, reinforced concrete as it says. Your first image. You can see they have provided reinforcing bar and a typical load when it comes. Your beam starts to deflect, crack starts to occur, and it gets cracked under tension, cracked under load in tension zone. We have also seen all these things in a previous presentation. Okay, so coming to pre-stress concrete in a below image, so we can see after the pre-stressing is transferred to your concrete. We can see that it has attained a shape of hogging in nature. Okay, so it has deflected upwards, shape as it says, shape under dead load, meaning that it is not under service. It has only dead loads, or its self weight is acting on it, and there are no external loads acting on it until now. Okay, so when the element is put under service, okay, service loads are coming on it now. So we can see that the last figure, it is neutral. It is neither nor hogging nor it is sagging. So your RCC elements will start to sag when it experiences your service load. But your pre-stressed concrete element will not sag under your service loads. So that will eliminate your cracks, and that will reduce your dead load, because your sections will be smaller, because your whole cross section will be utilized, and your concrete below neutral axis will not be waste. So okay, so that is there. So as it says, uncracked with anticipated camber. Okay, so camber meaning that slope. Okay, so first thing that is explaining your first figure. Okay, so shape under a full service load is neutral. Okay, understood. And I'm coming to one more example. Okay, so first A figure shows you your typical reinforced concrete beam. Okay, reinforced concrete beam, simply supported one. You can see this thing, simply supported reinforced concrete beam. When your loads start to act, it will start to crack and it will start to sag. So coming to a cantilever example of the RCC element, we can see steel reinforcement will usually be provided in your top part of your cantilever beam. Okay, never in bottom of your cantilever beam, because your tensile stresses will be in your top region, and we provide steel in your tensile, not in your compression will be in your bottom region of your cantilever beam, and hence we do not provide it there. We provide tensile where tensile forces are coming. Okay, so that is there. Then coming to your B part, post tension post tension concrete beam before loading. Okay, so as I've explained, after see here they have used anchorage devices, and they have pulled the tendons, and they have locked it in place. And once they have locked it and they have released the pulling force or the jacking force, what the tendon does is it tries to shrink, it tries to gain its original size, and because the anchorage device does not allow it to shrink, those anchorage devices hold it in place, and that tensile force, the tensile force or your pulling force of your tendons will be transferred to your concrete as compression by these anchorage devices. Okay, so this is there. Then coming to your cantilever example, see your tendon is provided in your upper part as the same in your RCC element. You can see I have marked anchor. This is your anchorage device. So this is hogging and this is sagging. Okay, so a cantilever will sag, and when your post tension concrete after loading, when your post tension beam is loaded, it will gain a neutral shape. It will be it will be neutral, it will be flat, it will not deflect, it will neither sag, it will neither hog. Okay, same in cantilever beam. See, it is neutral, it is not hogging, neither sagging. But when you see a normal RCC element, it will be sagging in simply supported and it will be hogging in cantilever. Okay, so understood. So this is your general concept for PSC or pre-stressed concrete elements. Okay, so if you have any doubts, you can just let me know. You can ask in chat or you can just unmute and you can ask. Okay, so if you have understood, any one of you can just type that you have understood and I can continue then. Am I audible to you guys? You can just let me know if you have no doubts or if you have any doubts so that I can continue. Okay, so I think I should continue. I will just uh, get to the next slide. So this is explaining your concept of pre-stress. It is basically concrete in which predetermined internal stresses of a suitable magnitude and direction are introduced. We know, as we have seen from the images, a predetermined, as I said, service loads and other loads will be known. And as per that, we will design and we will calculate what is the pre-stress that has to be applied and which direction it has to be applied in. Okay, so magnitude and a direction, and then they will be introduced so that the stresses resulting from external loads are contracted to a desired degree. Okay, so after we are up to a desired degree, meaning yeah, when the service loads are acting, so it should not still hog. Okay, so even after your service loads are applied and it is under service, if it is still hogging, it will be not aesthetically appealing or it will not show a good aesthetical view, right? If it is still hogging, so it has to be given to a certain degree, right? So when the service loads are there, it has to be flat or in neutral shape. It does not, it should not sag or it should not hog. Okay, sorry. So that is there. You remember? Okay. So second thing is a method of applying pre-stress a method of applying pre-stress. Yeah, mainly it is compressive force. So I have mentioned compression. Pre-stress we never usually apply tension. We usually apply or we always apply compression to concrete to control the stresses resulting due to external load. Okay, external load to always to counteract service loads or external loads. We apply this pre-stress. Okay, which is more than the permissible limits of plain concrete. Okay, so certain limits are there for concrete for which it can handle these compressive forces, but we apply this stresses which can which can handle more than this permissible limits. Loads which can be coming on this structure it can handle more than your regular plain concrete. Right, so pre-stressing has that advantage. So coming to a few advantages of PSC, I have mentioned many advantages. I will just list advantages. So you can see in this image also, this is a pre-stressed concrete bridge, and bridges are usually post-tensioned method. Post-tensioning method is used in bridges. Yeah, so this is a wonderful bridge. You can see the depth of your beam is very lesser and how uniform it is. Always PSC sections are lesser in depth compared to normal RCC. So coming to advantages, as I said, it is lighter. Why? Because the sections are smaller. Your cross section of a beam is smaller, hence what will result is your reduction in dead load or your self weight. Because of that, your section will be lighter. Whatever when I say dead load will be lighter, it can handle more loads. Then second thing is it is free from tensile stress. As I said, when the compressive forces are applied, it is hogging, and when service load act on it, it comes to a neutral or a flat shape. So if it starts to sag, only then tensile stresses will be starting to build up in your concrete. So when your concrete element or your beam is never sagging, it is flat. So never tensile stresses are developed and tensile cracks are not developed in your PSC element. So that is very beneficial. So as I said, no cracks are developed, and hence it is very durable because no moisture and any other chemical cannot penetrate inside. So what your lighter sections and your lesser dead load, then higher compressive strength, higher shear strength of your PSC element compared to RC elements. So all these things result in longer span. We can give a longer span of your beams. So compared to equivalent RCC element. Okay, so when you compare this, we can provide a very long spans, which is not possible in your RCC type of design. So PSC can be a factory built. We can say you might have seen in many metro cities wherein precast elements are cast at factory and they are inspected. And as you know, at factory, very good quality is maintained. Inspection is done, supervision is done, which is not possible at site. And those precast segments of your bridges or a metro bridges you might have seen, or a flyovers, those segments are cast at site. They are inspected, tested for quality, and then they are brought and they are set up at your bridge, and then they are post tensioned. So that is why these PSC bridges have a very high quality. So PSC also gives warning before failure, right? It has steel inside which is ductile, and when it is under very high load, which it is not designed for, it will start to sag. It will start to sag. When it starts to sag, it will show deflection. When it shows deflection, it shows cracks. And when you see cracks, you get a warning. You see that your beams are sagging. You will be getting a warning, and you will be vacating the structure. So warning before failure is provided by PSC, and there is no brittle failure and no sudden failure of a structure. Okay, so PSC elements have usually better fatigue strength. Fatigue meaning a reversal of stresses. Fatigue failure occurs when there are reversal of stresses. So when consider a normal RCC bridge. So when suppose when a heavy truck is moving above it, so when there is no truck, it will be normal in its normal shape. When the truck moves, it will sag, and when the truck passes it, it will come back to its original shape. So there are stress reversals that are occurring. So what this stress reversals does, it causes fatigue failure. These continuously positive and negative moments, positive negative moments will cause the steel inside to weaken up and fail. You know, when you suppose in childhood you have done, when you have bar bending wire or anything, when you start bending it once in clockwise direction, one in anti-clockwise direction, you hold the two ends, you bend it in a reverse direction, and after doing it a few times, your steel will break right at the weak point. So that is your fatigue failure. Okay, so as I've mentioned, due to this compressive force, we know when you have eraser, where it is not very strong in taking flexural loads. So you have a large eraser in your hand and you place a load, you keep it simply supported, you put a load using pencil and it will sag. Okay, so what you do is you hold your you do not simply support it, you hold it like a fixed beam in your hand and you compress it. So what will happen when you compress it? It will start to hog or sag. So you compress it in such a way that it will start to hog. So when you now tell a friend to press it using a pencil, it will be very difficult for him. So it will have better shear force handling, better strength, and better torsional capacities also. So because of this compressive action, which is developed because of this tensile, because of this tendons, it will enhance this bending shear and torsional capacities of a beam. So very win-win situation here. So precast elements are possible for bridge for construction, as I said. So precast bridges, not only precast bridges, but precast houses are also being built for mass construction. Precast can be used anywhere based on your need. So precast element construction is also possible, and only not there is nothing such as only precast pre-stress. Pre-stress should be used on site. So it can be precast also. Precast elements can be used and it can be later tensioned and pre-stressed. Okay, so that is possible. So always there will be some disadvantages. Instead of saying disadvantages, I would like to say some limitations of PSC. Okay, so we will look into limitations of PSC and we will wind up this session. Okay, so do not worry. So as you can see in the background, I am showing you a few eye sections of pre-stressed beams. Pre-stressed beams. You can see at the top there are a few pre-stressed. See here you can see there are one, two, three, four, I guess four or five these things, steel tendons which are pre-stressed tendons, and then you can see at bottom there are so many. See, so these number of these tendons and the diameter of these tendons, then what is the stress by which they have to be pulled, what is the length that they have to be pulled, all these are designed properly. We have design methods, we will be looking into that. So that is there. So these are just an example of how you can observe pre-stressed element look like. Okay, so coming to a few disadvantages, as you know, this is a complicated thing, not very complicated, but a new thing. So we need skilled labor and we need a very high technology, not very high, but we need some jacks, we need some anchorage devices, then we need grouting things, all those things are required. So we need technology and we need few equipments and we need skilled labor and we need special engineers who are expert in pre-stressed design, all those things. Okay, so that is one limitation. Then materials are costly, right? We are going to use high strength steel, we are going to use high strength concrete so that it can handle this massive compressive force. So we are going to use this high strength steel and concrete, so obviously the cost of these materials will be higher. So that is one limitation. Then as I said, special equipment I mentioned, those are required. Then labors, extra labors are required for all those handling of those equipments. Then inspection is required, whether the tendons are properly or properly tensioned, whether they are tensioned to the correct limit, to the correct length. All those things are need to be inspected before it is put into service. That is there. So inspection is required. So initial setup is costly. We have to buy equipment, we have to you have to train your laborers, all those things. So initial setup is turned to be very costly. So as you know, steel is there. So steel is very much not in friendship with fire. So whenever there is fire, steel starts to be gets starts behaving ductile. It will start to stretch. So when it starts to stretch, your pre-stress will be lost, and once pre-stress is lost, there is chance of your structure failure. So less fire resistant. So we have discussed a few limitations and disadvantages. If you have anything to ask, you might ask now, and you can always unmute and ask, and you can also type in chat. Okay, so it's 12:20. I think we have to wind up. So quickly, you can ask me any questions if you have, or if you do not have any questions, you can just reply as we should wind up. So can anyone just give me feedback whether is this method of teaching fine, or whether we should adopt any new thing for teaching, or whether it is going fine?